Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Lunch and Learn today. So we are talking about the 5 mistakes women over 40 make. And you could say 35 because your menopausal journey can start as early as your 30s and it continues on until the day you die. So we are in this menopausal journey in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. In episode, I believe, number 2 of the Menopause Made Easy podcast, I talk about the difference between perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. Today, we're focusing on, it doesn't matter where you are in this journey. If you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, it doesn't matter. We're going to touch upon all of those with these 5 mistakes that you may be making. So I'm just going to briefly start out by saying that perimenopause, okay, that's that period of time starting around in your 30s and 40s until you don't have a period anymore. This is a natural and normal time, and all the women are going to go through it, and our hormones are shifting. And maybe you, like me, but I'm going to roll back the clock to when I was going through this. This was not talked about. There was nothing like we're seeing now. Okay, so I didn't understand why I was feeling anxious, why I was moody, what I could do to help myself. There was no education. There was no sense of empowerment. I felt very lost, very confused, unsettled. I'm so glad I have a supportive husband. And I really was going through in darkness, which many, many women have done. So this is an amazing time to be actually going through all of this. All right. So we don't have to, I think it's really good to empower ourselves. Let's just say that. So we can feel our best. And knowing what I did in my 30s and 40s and what I could do better is what I want to share with you today. And if you are postmenopausal, taking these 5 principles and just seeing which one can I work on to improve, which ones am I doing? Gold star, yay me. All right. So our bodies are changing. And the good news is we can support our bodies during this transition. And it's really important to dive into how we're eating, how we're moving, how we're managing our stress, how we're supporting our gut biome, because this all works together. Okay, so as we go through this perimenopausal journey, our hormones are declining, and progesterone is our calming hormone. This is the hormone that really helps us with the ability to deal with stress. So if you find you aren't dealing with stress like you once did, that is okay, because that progesterone really helped us. So if you're postmenopausal and you haven't been able to deal with stress properly, notice that we're going to go over some tools today. And we talk a lot about this in my Midlife Reboot and my Vibrant Living Academy. All right. And so this progesterone is our calming hormone. It's lowering gradually. And the estrogen is going up and down and up and down and up and down. And this can really cause a lot of stress on our body and new symptoms. So this is not in your head. You are not a whiny woman. Okay. This is real. This is happening. And we want to have some things that we can do so that we're not feeling exhausted, that we can actually lose fat and weight if we need to. We can get our sex drive back if it's gone on vacation. We can help with brain fog. And if you're irritated, sad, anxious, and also really preventing chronic disease, which is, I say, one of the top priorities of me right now as I venture through this. Okay, so let's get into these 5 principles. I'll tell you them one at a time, but one of them is too much cardio. Okay, so I don't know you and your workout routine, but what I hear from many women is that there is a resistance to lifting weights, to what I call have a balanced menopausal workout. So I'm just going to touch upon the too much cardio right here. But many of you, you've told me this, you are just addicted to cardio. You're just on your treadmill or on your bike, and you've got to be sweaty and sore to be effective, right? And that's not the case. This is not your friend, after 35. In your 20s, great, your teens, great, but after 35, we really need a different approach. So high intensity workouts can really tax our adrenals. And this can cause our cortisol to spike, which is a stress hormone, and your testosterone to spike. And so when our bodies are in a stressed out state, our adrenals can take a hit, our gut can take a hit. And as we get older, we have a harder time dealing with this stress, right? And so how can we do a balanced menopausal workout? And I just want to mention that as you're going through these fluctuations, your ovaries were the producers of your hormones. And as you're shifting through this phase, the work is going on to your adrenals. And if you don't take care of your adrenals, which hands up, I did not when I was in my 40s or 30s, because I didn't know. I was like always looking for that busy badge, working harder, doing more, taxing my body, really hard on myself. Go, 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 go. And I see that with so many women now, and it can be addictive because you're getting things done. You're on this treadmill, and then you go to bed, you're wired but tired, and you cannot sleep. All right. So what are some things you can do instead of just doing this cardio all the time? And it's really important to get that balanced approach to exercise during this menopausal time of our lives. All right. So we really want to look at exercises that don't spike our our cortisol, which are things like walking, right? Walking in nature is very soothing to our bodies. Going for some low impact workouts, some yoga, some Pilates. And there's still a place for HIIT training. So I will mention in my, I think it was probably around the age of 51, because I teach in my Vibrant Living Academy. I'm a fitness, instructor, Pilates instructor. I personal train people. And I just had way too much activity in my body. I was teaching too much HIIT, and I didn't want to disappoint my clients who were also my age. So I was actually doing them a favor when I just said, you know what, everybody, we need to start balancing our menopausal exercises more. And we've all benefited from having a variety of exercise. So we do want to strength train 2 to 3 times a week, because this really helps to build muscle, build strong bones, boost our metabolism. And women, unfortunately, lose muscle mass twice as fast as men. All right, so it is so important to make sure you're lifting those weights. And I've done many talks about this in my Menopause Made Easy podcast. So when we have low muscle mass, okay, and you don't build muscle mass from walking on a treadmill because you're not overloading your bones and your muscles. All right, so we will slow our metabolism, and then fat will tend to accumulate around your midsection, maybe some back fat and some arm fat. And then, the chronic disease part is that this can actually start to lead into diabetes and heart disease. So really important to make sure you're getting a balanced menopausal movement plan put together with some HIIT, some weights, some Pilates, some yoga, some stretching, some walking, strength training, if I didn't mention that. The other thing I see is there's a lot of women just doing one thing. They're just doing Pilates or just doing yoga, and they're not doing enough to get their heart rates up. So it really is looking at this through a different lens. All right, so there we go. Okay, number 2 is poor sleep. So I can definitely say I've stayed up many nights and binge watched Netflix. I've read too late. I haven't had a consistent sleep schedule. I always am a very good sleeper, but one thing I've been really focusing on is intentional sleep. So I did a really great podcast called Social Jet Lag in my Menopause Made Easy with Tanya podcast. It's really interesting to listen to. So I would listen to that one. But poor sleep really can negatively affect our hormone-related symptoms, such as hot flashes and night sweats and irritability and mood swings. And then the next day, after not being able to sleep, properly or not enough, We have more cravings for carbohydrates, for those simple carbohydrates. And then we don't want to exercise because we're feeling too tired. And we get on this vicious treadmill of not getting enough sleep. So many of you may relate to this tired but wired feeling, which is when your melatonin may be low due to high cortisol, which is stress. And unfortunately, many of us are in this current realm of stress, not realizing that our bodies are still 10,000 years old, our brain is 10,000 years old, and it is too much. It's too much, but we think we're coping, and it's really time to try and slow down. And I have spent years working on this, okay? So when we have poor sleep, it contributes to weight gain, especially belly fat and metabolic issues, all right? It disrupts the balance of our hormones like cortisol and ghrelin, which helps to regulate appetite and stress. So if your sleep is not dialed in, it is really important to get that dialed in. So what can you do? I would spend the first week just being aware of your bedtime and your wake time. I would be aware if you are getting up in the middle of the night at any point, because if you're getting up around 2 o'clock, that can that could be some liver issues, 2, 3 o'clock. So then we need to address the liver. All right. Do you have, like, if you have kids or have, we don't all have kids, but when you had younger children, you noticed the importance of a bedtime routine. Do you have a bedtime routine, or is it from screen to bed expecting to fall straight to sleep? So really important to have that time to unwind. Maybe you need a sleep mask to keep your room dark, earplugs to keep noise out. Maybe you need to cool your room. There's all sorts of chili pads on the market that can help with that. Trying not to eat 2 to 3 hours before bedtime so that you're not competing with sleeping and digesting food. I've talked a lot about nighttime eating because I had an emotional eating addiction to simple carbohydrates for about 3 decades. And so over these many decades, since I was about 35 is when I started to make a lot of these changes, I've really had to unwind some emotional, some social, some habitual habits within myself. So one of those was nighttime eating. So really not eating 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. And then as soon as you wake up in the morning, this is one thing I've been doing for a very long time, is I get my toothbrush, I go outside and I brush my teeth. And that just gets some good natural light into my eyes and helps to reset our circadian rhythm. All right. So number 3 is that you could be under eating, right? And I am not into counting calories. I don't want to count macros for the rest of my life. I want to be able to enjoy and love food, but I want it to be able to nourish me as I move through my menopausal journey. So I'm just going to focus on under eating at the moment, because so many of us are still stuck in that. I got to lower the calories. I got to lower the calories. And what happens is that your body won't have the energy it needs to function at a cellular level. Okay, so making sure we get proper nutrition is paramount for all the function in your body. And if you keep eating minimal calories, okay, you're going to slow down your metabolic function. You're going to down-regulate your metabolism. You're going to become less efficient, right? And so you may not notice some slight tweaks, but you might start to move less. You might start to just do things. Again, you might not notice them. But 1,200 calories, which is what I hear a lot of women on, is way too low for you. And when you keep doing that, you're actually slowing your metabolism down by about 23%, which is also going to lead to muscle loss, which is your fat burning potential, your independence, right? Fatigue, bone density, and nutrient density deficiencies. So it's really important at this phase to see how much nutrition, okay, how much nutrition as opposed to calories. How much nutrition does my body need to keep my hormones balanced and have me functioning, my brain, my gut? So it's a little different take. So whether you're a calorie counter or not, I could not tell you how many calories I eat in a day. I've really had to tap inward, and I've had to correct a lot of hormonal imbalance in my body to really understand the amount of food that I need and the nutrients that I need. So a few of the things that I've definitely had to reduce over this course since I was about 35 is I've definitely had to reduce my alcohol intake, not only because it makes me feel kaka-poo-poo, but it shunts fat burning potential, and it's really not good for my liver, my gut, or anything in my body. So yes, I still drink, but oh my gosh, compared to what I used to drink, it's so much better. Processed foods, apparently 74% of a supermarket now contains 74% processed food items, like ultra processed food. 70% of people's diets are ultra processed food. So really, let's bring the cooking. It's so easy, everybody. It's so easy. Boiled egg, steamed broccoli. Okay, like just start with the easy. You don't have to. I'm a cook. I love cooking. I love baking. I love raw. I have like so many things I love doing in the kitchen. That's my creative outlet. But if you don't like cooking, there is so many simple things that you can do, like really simple. Don't confuse nutrition with being difficult or feeding yourself. Like I said, boiled eggs, throw some meat on the barbecue, stick some chicken in the oven and cut up some vegetables, have that stuff ready for you. So we really want to make sure we're getting those things. So diminish and reduce the amount of processed food you're eating, the amount of simple sugars you're eating, your white starchy carbs, your seed oils, which I've done 2 amazing episodes, and I'm going to continue to do more episodes on seed oils because they are wrecking our gut. They're actually messing up our hunger signals, and I'll save that for another topic. Okay, so those things, alcohol, processed food, sugar, starchy carbs, and seed oils are like destroying our hormones. They're destroying our cells. They're really messing us up. So I'm not saying don't eat them. I'm just saying, how can you start to reduce those? Okay. So, oh, and another one, just what I would start with is, I've really had to work on this one, is avoid snacking, avoid eating all day. I'll do another whole lunch and learn on that. Okay, so the 4th principle is our toxic overload. We talk about this all the time in the Vibrant Living Academy and our Midlife Reboot program. Is we are living, unfortunately, in a way more toxic world than we used to. And these toxins are making us sick. They're causing inflammation in our body. And we don't even realize how many toxins we are taking in. They're in our skincare, air care, hair care, tooth care. They're on our foods. They're in the air. You can't escape them. Okay, but you can absolutely reduce them. And at the time of recording this, which is September 10th, I love Living Libations. I will put the link in here. I would absolutely check out their products. They have a sale on right now. Here, I'm going to put it in. You don't have to do this, but I'm just saying this is like my, I love their stuff. And there's also another company, Skin Essence. The reason I'm just sharing this link with you today is because there's actually 22% off right now. And I love her skincare products. I love her hair care, her tooth care. I literally almost have everything that she has in there. So if you use that link, that will help you with the discount. And that is one really great way to upgrade your skincare. Okay, so what can happen with all this toxic load is it congests our liver, right? And then it can affect our gut. And then that's how it affects our hormones. And then we just have this out of whack body, and we may be eating the cleanest diet and have the best menopausal workout routine, but if we are having obesogens in our life and not looking after our skin, tooth, hair, nail, air care, again, I can do a whole other episode on that. It's not going to set us up for success. And your liver, its primary job is to filter toxins. So if your liver is sluggish, that can be a reason why you're not getting some of the goals you want to. And each month in the living or the midlife reboot, we really go after. This month, we're talking about gut health. Next month, we're talking about brain health. Then we'll go into liver health. We really dig deep as to some actionable steps that you can take. Okay, but I will mention a few of them for you today. If you sweat, that is a great way to get toxins out of your body. I love the, the body brush, the energy brush from Living Libation. So I dry brush every day. That's a great way to open up your skin to allow these toxins to come out. We have to make sure we're pooping every single day. That's getting toxins out of you and going, wee-wees, as I say to my new little puppies that I have right now. Okay, so pooping, peeing, and sweating are really great. That's what we want to do. That's going to help get those toxins out of us. So a couple of actionable steps you can take today are really looking at your skincare. Go to ewg.org, look up what skincare you're currently using. It'll give you a rating. Anything over 3, I would get rid of right now. Okay. You're going to notice in your skincare things that might say parabens or triclosan, talcum powder, propylene glycol, anything with the word fragrance, SLS, which is sodium lauryl sulfate, parabens. So really want to check out for some clean brands. Make sure you're drinking 6 to 8 glasses of clean water, preferably not out of plastic. I have an episode coming up in either October, November. I just taped it, called that, Are We Becoming Plastic? We are eating a credit card of plastic a week, okay? And our bodies don't know how to deal with this. So that episode is coming up. And again, we talk more about this in my midlife reboot. All right, so we want to make sure that we're having a bowel movement every single day, getting fiber in our diet, and our skin, which is our largest organ, really pay attention to what products you're putting on there. All right, the last one is chronic stress. If we're not moving properly, if we're not eating properly, that causes stress on our body. If we are taking in things from the outside world that are causing us stress and we're not being able to process it properly, that's causing us stress. Okay, just telling you to stress less is not the answer. It really comes back to you to take a holistic approach, be aware of yourself, really be aware of yourself. This is how so many of my changes finally started to happen, because my first step was awareness. How is this making me feel? Am I stress eating, which was a huge one for me, emotional eating? How am I reacting to stress? What does stress feel like in my body? Okay. And I know so many of us are busy. We may have kids. We may be in the sandwich generation. We have lots on our plate, but it's how we respond to this stress that's important. And it's estimated that 75 to 90% of chronic disease, okay, is related to stress and inflammation. And those are 2 things that we can control. Okay, we can really help those things. So inflammation causes all sorts of hormonal imbalances in our body and symptoms. So inflammation, you may have heard, is the root cause of all disease. It's caused by our diets. It's caused by our thoughts. It's basically caused by our lifestyle. Chronic disease is a 95% lifestyle and 5% genetics. And if you don't believe me, go look it up. Okay, our genetics have not changed that much in the past 100 years or more, but our lifestyle has drastically changed. We're getting sicker earlier in life with crazy things. So the best thing about all of this is that you have the key to change all of this if you want to. All right, so there's one thing we talk about again in my Vibrant Living Academy and my midlife reboot, which is our vagus nerve, and it controls the body's response to rest and relaxation. Okay, and it's one of the main nerves, and it's a parasympathetic nerve. So in my podcast and with me, you may have heard me talk about your sympathetic versus your parasympathetic nervous system. I was in sympathetic for so long without realizing it. I was stuck in fight and flight. I didn't even know I was there. And it almost felt panicky for me to relax. And when I relaxed, I felt anxious. So just really step in and notice some things about yourself. So if you can start to activate this vagus nerve, if you can start to get more into a parasympathetic state, which I'll tell you in a minute, we can really start to regulate digestion, which will help improve gut function. It will help to decrease your stress. It'll help to boost your immune system. It'll help to regulate your mood. And it's important because when we are out of balance, we are dysregulated, okay? We're not living from our highest potential because we're stuck in overwhelm and stress, okay? And when we're stuck there, we can't be creative and add more expansion into our life. So one of the things we can start doing is just to notice when we're feeling rushed, when we're feeling stressed. What does stress feel like in our body? Are you giving yourself permission to rest and slow down? Do you need to create stronger boundaries, right? What does a boundary look like to you? If you have your period still, that 10 days before your period is a perfect time to turn inward, to clear your calendar as much as possible, and to really nourish your body. When you're postmenopausal, it's still super important to have that rest period, but it doesn't have to be so much. When you're perimenopausal, it's good to work with your cycle. When you're postmenopausal and you don't have a cycle, we tap more into the lunar cycle. After we start to pay attention to the lunar cycle, a lot of my clients are now just starting to find their own rhythm of when they need to go up and come down. All right. Really find some time for yourself, go for a walk in nature, ground, go in a sauna, have a cup of tea and just actually taste the tea, enjoy it, practice gratitude, right? And I think the biggest thing I would say is just take some time to listen to your body, to really listen and tap into what it's saying. So the 5 principles that we talked about today, and then I'm going to give you one last thing, is to really make sure you have a balanced menopausal workout routine, okay? Then have a balanced menopausal dietary, your diet, not a diet, what works for you, making sure you get enough nutrition, enough nutrients, enough calories to support yourself. Sleep, make sure that you are finding a sleep routine that works for you. Start to decrease your toxic load and also to better manage your stress. So I'm going to say goodbye to my lovely Menopause Made Easy podcast, and I'm going to open up the floor to some questions for those who have joined us today. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.